You are listening to Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. In this podcast, we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies for reducing your reliance on insurance. Join us as we interview industry experts, share success stories, and provide valuable insights to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. I'm Naren, Arulrajah, one of the co-hosts of this podcast. We are here helping practice owners who are tangled up with insurance. We talk about topics that help you take more control and create a bigger and better future for you, your patients, and of course, your team members. Today, my guest is Ben Tuinei, and we will be talking about an awesome topic, and that is, what are the top dental insurance-related issues practices are going through this year in 2024. So Ben, let's jump right in. Can you list them first? Can you list maybe perhaps the top 5 dental insurance related issues dental offices are experiencing? And oh, by the way, hello.
Hey there, Aaron. Great chatting with you again here, and thanks for our listeners for chiming in. So interestingly, in sort of brainstorming on this issue and looking at the top areas of struggle, areas that our clients and other dental practices are struggling with. The number one is there's a small pool of qualified billers. And so therefore it's either outsource or do it yourself. A lot of our clients, or a lot of dentists in general, are doing one or the other. The second one are perio denials. And this is mostly in the category of scaling and root planing. But I am seeing like a pairing of scaling and root planing and osseous surgery. Those are getting denied quite a bit. Or just a submission of 2 quad scaling and root planing. A lot of times the initial submissions are getting denied. The third are buildups. In fact, I met with a Delta Dental executive last year, and I got an update this year on what he had mentioned to me. He said the 2 areas that most insurance carriers are going to be increasing the rate of denial are going to be anything in the perio category, and then the buildups, the efforts to bundle them with crowns is on the rise. But just so you're aware, if the buildup is bundled, you can get it unbundled if you know how. And then the fourth one is a lot of dentists know this themselves, but many practices are experiencing what's called a bloody prophy palace. To where bloody prophies are being performed, and those are most definitely a lot of people call them gingivitis cleanings, which is 43, 46, or it is a combination of scaling, root planing, maybe isolated, but those are being billed out as prophies. So there's a lot of work being done on these patients, but they're being reported as healthy mouth cleanings, and we're seeing that on the rise, and there are some reasons why that's happening. And then finally, the fifth problem that I'm seeing is revenue cycle and your accounts receivables are getting out of control. There's a lot of practices that are unfortunately writing off, on top of the PPO write-offs, they're writing off another $200,000, $300,000, or $400,000 unnecessarily as a result of not having the proper claims management tools, or at least the people that are experienced. That kind of goes back to number one, is not having qualified billers to help them with their current accounts receivable problems. So those are sort of the 5 things in terms of insurance-related problems that we're seeing, Naren, that most practices are experiencing these days.
Thank you so much. What are some of the solutions to these problems?
Yeah, the small pool of good billers, it's interesting because a lot of billing companies, they hire from the dental practice, right? Where a lot of billers want to work from home. But even those billers, and this is not an insult to people that work in the billing space, but they know that. People know their skill set, right? And so the pool of billers has kind of dwindled significantly. What I've learned is that if you have the right trainer, if you have the right billing trainer and coding trainer, just like any Fortune 500 company, you get hired on, and you spend a minimum of 2 weeks getting onboarded and trained, right? And then another 6 months sort of going through a very similar type of like apprentice type of program until your skill set is where it needs to be for you to go solo. And in this day and age, there's such a big shortage of billers out there to where many practices are hiring entry-level people to come and learn billing. But if you have the right billing coach, and there's a number of them that are out there, I'll give my recommendation at the end of this podcast episode. But if you have the right billing coach, if you hire a good person that's coachable and that can learn, I've seen this on the rise these days where entry-level people in dentistry are picking up billing relatively quickly. Cario denials, that one there is a function of appeal. I'm a big fan of using the insurance commissioners because the insurance commissioners are starting to see more and more practices submit complaints. Use the insurance commissioner, but make sure that you do at least 1 to 2 appeals. Do exactly what the insurance carrier has asked in terms of the reason for the denial. And if the treatment gets denied again, then you could use the insurance commissioner to help with that. And the same thing with number 3, which are the buildups, is if the buildups are being bundled, it's a function of the insurance policy. Sometimes they want you to report the seat date. Sometimes they want you to submit post-op x-rays. But a lot of times if you call the insurance carrier to find out, well, why this is bundled, and then follow up with the question of how do I get this unbundled, they'll give you the instructions on how to do that. Now, the bloody prophy palace, I'm not even going to chime in on that because I'm not a hygienist and I'm not a practice owner. And this is actually a very sensitive issue in dentistry. And I recognize that between the hygienist and the doctors, a lot of times people don't want to have this discussion, and I get it. So with that said, I'll give some recommendations on good hygiene coaches that are out there that can perhaps help with that. And then as far as revenue cycle, in terms of having your accounts receivables in the 90-day plus, where that's the majority of your accounts receivables or a very large chunk of it, I recommend if you don't have a good biller, of course, outsourcing it is going to be your next best bet until you can get a biller to come in-house. And there's a number of good companies out there that you can outsource to, but you don't want to wait long. Like, you have timely filing, as well as the issue of being able to collect. Some states you have up to a year to make an attempt to collect from insurance, right? You don't want to ignore those. And if you have questions or need some resources or like a personalized recommendation, y'all can contact me through the Insurance Untangled website, and I can give you some recommendations directly.
Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. We'll put the link so people can contact Ben, and we can provide additional recommendations. Let me go to the next question, Ben. That is there a difference between in-network practices and out-of-network practices when it comes to insurance-related problems in a dental office?
Good question. The answer is, if you're out of network and you're not accepting assignment of benefit, then you're not dealing with the insurance company. So for those practices, straight fee for service, they collect in full from every patient at the time of treatment. Naturally, they don't experience insurance-related problems. And a lot of practices are headed in that direction. For practices that are out of network but accepting assignment of benefit on behalf of the patient, you'll still experience these same problems. The denials, they tend to stay the same. Insurance carriers will sort of put you through that whole process, similar to that of being in network. Although you tend to see it, the issues sort of decline a little bit as out of network, but they don't go away if you're accepting assignment of benefits. So as an out-of-network practice accepting assignment of benefit, a lot of times your problems with insurance will be the same compared to being in network.
Thank you. What do you suggest dental offices do to identify insurance problems they can't see?
Yes, and there's a lot. As a practice owner, it's hard for you to do a personal audit on your coding and billing or just your general insurance department, mainly because a lot of practice management systems don't really allow you to do that very thoroughly, right? I would recommend doing a coding and billing audit, and my recommendation for that is Erica Aguilar at Hidden Dental Profits. We've been doing for our own clients a number of coding and billing audits, and I am thoroughly surprised at practices that have a very strong billing department, right? That are very proactive on all fronts to be able to make sure that they're not writing off any more than they need to. Even in those practices, we're finding a lot of opportunity, or at least a lot of unnecessary write-off, right? Which to me is an opportunity. And I think even the best of the best billers that are out there, there's so much to do in a dental office, right? There's so much to focus on. that in any setting, like any professional setting, it's always good to have a second set or a third set of eyes sort of looking over what you're doing in an effort to make sure that you're not missing something, right? Scientists experience this all the time, where they go through, like they write their formulas and they miss how it ties into other areas. And then they have another scientist come and look at it. And this is, in my opinion, the beauty about the peer review process in the scientific community is you have competitors that are looking at your theories, trying to disprove you. And when they can't, they come back and say, "Holy smokes, you were totally right." And then they give you the respect that you've earned. But a lot of times what you find is that even the smartest scientists will miss something. And they're so appreciative to the people that are peer reviewing them in an effort to help them find things that they can't personally see. So it's no different in the insurance world, where I could be, like even me, I could be a total expert at what I do, but I always get a second set of eyes. I always look for continuing education in this space in an effort to make sure that I'm up to date with things, but also clearing my blind spots, right? And that's the biggest thing in dental as it pertains to insurance, is that we have so many blind spots and we don't even know that those blind spots exist. So the billing and coding audit that Erica can do, and we can get her to do it complimentary. Just mention Insurance Untangled if you contact her or her company, but they can most certainly do an audit to help you unveil the blind spots, but also what are those blind spots costing in terms of unnecessary write-offs. I would highly recommend that in an effort for you to sort of know what's going on with your insurance department and where the problems, if you are experiencing problems, where they can be fixed.
Last question, Ben. Where can listeners learn more about solutions to today's insurance challenges?
Absolutely. So, as everybody knows, there's a lot of great books that are out there. Travis Campbell put out a book called Understanding Dental Insurance, and I'm a personal fan of that book. The Charles Blair Coding with Confidence book is another great one. But I would also suggest just getting the book from the American Dental Association, the coding book that is, because they're the ones that own it. And when you read through that book, you'll start to discover things that you didn't know before in terms of the relationship with the American Dental Association, who owns CDT in the insurance industry. And a lot of times the people that own the CDT, well, the entity that owns CDT, you could get just the straight and skinny on their relationship with insurance from an advocacy perspective to protect CDT, where insurance carriers love to change the definitions from time to time in an effort to deny claims, change the definition of the codes, that is. Well, that's against the CDT leasing agreement with insurance companies and the American Dental Association. So those are a few good resources. But if there's anything that's probably the most value for this episode, is go to hiddendentalprofits.com and request a consultation with Erica. Erica Aguilar can help you with a complimentary coding and billing audit in an effort to look at all the 5 different areas that we talked about, but also help with some concrete, meaningful solutions depending on which of these areas you're experiencing problems with.
Thank you so much, Ben. Really appreciate your time today. I learned a ton. And I have a quick announcement to make. Right now, we are live on YouTube podcast, so you can listen to this episode also on YouTube. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube channel by Insurance Untangled. So at Insurance Untangled, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. So we are doing a lot in terms of bringing interesting information to you. If you have any other ideas, please go to the website insuranceuntangleded.com and share it with us, and we would bring your ideas also into this podcast. So till we meet again, have a wonderful, amazing episode, and thank you, Ben, and thank you all of our listeners.